Welcome back to Red and Blue. I am Major Garrett. As you know, control of the Senate is coming down to 3 races. You've probably already circled them on your map at home because you're watching this program, right? The closely watched contest in Georgia, as we all know, heading to a runoff. CBS News has not made projections in the Senate races in Arizona or Nevada. For more on all of this, Democratic Michigan Senator Gary Peters joins us now. Senator Peters, also the chair of the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee. Senator, always great to see you. So as I understand it, there's a press release I've got in front of me, the DSCC, that's your committee, announcing at least a $7 million field organizing investment in the Georgia runoff. How does that race look to you today?
Well, I'm very confident we're going to win the race. I think it's very clear from the general election that Herschel Walker simply didn't have a coalition as other Republicans on the ballot had. In fact, he trailed every statewide Republican that was on the ballot. Raphael Warnock clearly is the superior candidate. And you know, this always comes down, particularly in these battleground states, to candidate quality. And it's very clear the difference between these two individuals. And so as we go into this runoff, we are going to continue to do what we did in the run-up to the general election, and that's have a very robust ground campaign to make sure voters are getting out and voting and making sure that their voice is heard. And at the DSCC, that's been our main focus in all of these battleground states. We've made major investments on the ground. In fact, for the first time in our history, we've spent more in our ground campaign and talking directly to voters than we did on what are called independent expenditures, you know, TV, other kinds of media, because we felt it was important to talk directly to folks, get them to the polls. And ultimately, that's always been my experience, being in tough races myself, that when you're in a close race, a good field operation will make the difference between winning and losing. And given the contrast we have between these two candidates and Raphael Warnock's strength that he certainly demonstrated very clearly in the general election, we're confident we're going to be able to win the runoff as well.
Senator Peters, what difference would it make if this runoff is not determinative of Senate control? Would that have a negative effect either on fundraising or ground mobilization?
No, I think it's going to be a major race regardless of what happens. This is about who the folks in Georgia are going to send to represent them in the United States Senate. To me, it's about qualifications. It's about a person's character, which is so critical for folks to have representation in Washington that reflects the people in that state. So I know the folks in Georgia are concerned about who represents them in Washington and who fights for them. Raphael Warnock has an amazing record doing that in the time that he has been there, fighting for military bases in Georgia, for port facilities, for everyday folks, including reducing the cost of things like prescription drugs, making sure that seniors have a cap on their insulin payments, for example. So Raphael Warnock has delivered for the people of Georgia. He will continue to do that when reelected. And that's going to be important to every Georgian. They care about how this impacts their family in a meaningful way. And they want someone who's going to be on their side and someone who shares their values and is a man of character. And I think on all of those points, it's very clear that Raphael Warnock meets that. That's why he beat Herschel Walker in the general election, came a little less than the 50%. But that will change certainly in the runoff, particularly as we work to mobilize those voters who supported Senator Warnock in the first place. They will be back to support him again December 6th, regardless of whatever outside forces are out there. This is about the people of Georgia.
Senator, your committee is interested in the fate of all Democrats, but first and foremost on the fate of incumbents. Incumbents exist for Democrats in Arizona and Nevada. You have teams there watching the counting in both states. What is your sense, first of Nevada and second Arizona?
We do. We care. That's my number one goal as the chair of the DSCC, is to make sure that our incumbents come back. And right now I'm feeling very optimistic about what we're seeing both in Arizona and Nevada. Obviously, we have to let the process work itself out and have the votes counted. Every vote needs to be counted. But I'm confident when that happens, we will win both of those states. We always knew that these would be close races, and I knew that, and I think we all knew that. You could have asked me that question early last year. Are these going to be really close races? And I would have said, absolutely, they'll be close. It's going to come out to turnout, as it usually always does in a midterm, but particularly in a battleground state, which is by definition going to be a close race. But I think you see candidate quality differences that are very clear in both Arizona and in Nevada. ultimately that, along with a great field operation, will make the difference, and we'll be successful in both of those states.
Senator, as our viewers were looking at the numbers from Nevada, what gives you the confidence that your incumbent, Catherine Cortez Masto, will eke out a victory?
Well, we're still in the counting process, and you have to look at where those ballots are coming from. And basically, the ballots that are still yet to be counted tend to be in areas that vote more Democratic than Republican. And we know Senator Cortez Masto has considerable support in those areas. And so we're confident she's going to do very well as those ballots are counted, and we'll close that gap and eventually actually be ahead and end up winning the race.
As I understand it, your committee and the Democratic Party nationally has not only observers and field staff, but lawyers ready. Is there anything about the process in either Nevada or Arizona that in any way has given you cause for concern? And do you foresee, whatever the outcome is, litigation following decisions as to announcements of victors in either state?
Well, we're certainly monitoring it very closely. We have folks there in the field to make sure that the count is fair and free, which is what we all certainly want to see happen. Make sure that people's voices are accurately counted. So we will continue to monitor that situation. You know, we have seen, however, on the Republican side, that if they are not successful, they tend to make false claims and aggressively make those false claims. That could happen again, but we'll certainly be prepared to protect and secure the vote of people in both Nevada and Arizona.
Senator Peters, on my show, The Takeout, this afternoon, I talked to Roy Cooper, the Democratic governor of North Carolina. You may be familiar with him. I suspect you are. And I mentioned to him about the race in North Carolina for Senate. And he said, look, I understand why there was less investment there and in Ohio, because those were challengers, not incumbents. But it was his belief that had there been more investment, that race might have been closer and Sherry Beasley might have won. Your thoughts?
Well, certainly at the DSCC, we made investments in both of those states. We had two outstanding candidates, both in North Carolina and Ohio. We did make those investments. But as we mentioned at the top of this interview, my number one job is to make sure that our incumbents come back. When they do come back, we maintain the majority in the U.S. Senate with our 50 votes. But we also went on the offense. We were successful in Pennsylvania in winning that seat. But it's I don't have unlimited amount of money to spend. We have to make some tough decisions as to how we're spending money. And my focus has always been on incumbents to make sure that they come back. They were clearly the superior candidates in those races, and to invest in those races that were right on the edge to push them over the edge. Certainly, we were very successful in Pennsylvania in doing that.
Senator Gary Peters, we thank you.